Chapter 21. Final Considerations. You, reader, who have made it this far, may now realize that this work was not written against free will, but in favor of free will properly understood. An understanding that, far from impoverishing human experience, profoundly transforms the way we conduct our existence. Living under this perspective means living with less automatic judgment, less sterile guilt, and a way of thinking that is more attentive to the real conditions that shape events. This is not resignation, but a shift in focus, from an obsession with absolute control to the lucid management of circumstances, and, when possible, to the deliberate creation of new conditions that adjust how the world responds. It is an attempt to replace constant confrontation with navigation. Instead of fighting a sea that does not yield to force, to recognize its currents, its rhythms, and its logic, not out of weakness, but because conflict often arises from mistaken expectation, that the world should obey our will rather than the laws that structure it. The feeling that runs through this entire narrative is the contemplation of the universe, its laws, its coherence, its complexity, with greater sobriety and less impossible demand. And, from there, to look at human beings with greater gentleness, without giving up firmness. Correction remains necessary. Limits remain indispensable. What dissolves is the belief that aggressiveness, moral violence, or hatred add anything to justice. Most of the time, they are merely byproducts of a misunderstood free will. I know it is difficult to look at those who hurt others from this perspective, but it is fair to ask, what other alternative do we truly have? Wouldn't this reading, uncomfortable as it may be the one that offers more tools, more autonomy, and more serenity both to apply the law and to sustain corrective consequences effectively? And when we look at those who are dear to us, at their mistakes and stumbles, wouldn't it be transformative to see them as inevitable expressions of a consciousness and process, rather than as absolute moral failures? What would change if we lived with less constant condemnation of others and of ourselves? This book does not promise immediate comfort. It proposes a repositioning, a quiet invitation to exchange a turbulent crossing for a steadier navigation, in which we listen less to the clamor of the wounded ego and more to the integrated functioning of the self. It is not about losing something essential, but about abandoning a demand that could never be satisfied. And in that abandonment, perhaps something rare can be found. More lucidity, more tranquility, and a more honest and less violent way of being in the world. I wish that, from this point onward, you find more peace and tenderness in your relationships, and more gentleness in the face of the countless manifestations of consciousness that permeate the universe. Much peace.